9 o'clock East Coast time, and we're running our bumper. You're waiting on us to finish, and we have a chat room waiting. We also are recording and streaming, so let's count her down to Studio 33 Alpha. Well, good evening and welcome to PJNet.TV. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and it is Tuesday night and the Christmas season is approaching. Today is December 7th, a day that will live in infamy, in case you had forgotten. There's actually still some people alive that were there that day. One of them is 99, one of them's 101. They're getting few and far between, but let's remember our heroes who defend our freedoms. Well, it's going to be a great night. You know, every month on the, what is this, the first Wednesday, or is it the second Wednesday? It is the first Wednesday. Tuesday of the month, Ben Cooper joins us on the big screen. Now, Ben joins us in the chat room almost every time we're here. Ben, at first, you may wonder, is that Ben? I had to think, because he was not wearing his glasses at the time. And I think you've gotten your hair cut, Ben, and your beautiful background is, by the time we do this next month, will change.
It will.
What's the matter? Did the rent come due and you had to move?
No, just changing around whenever one person leaves out of the nest. Then somebody wants another space. I worked 2 months ago, worked on repairing and refurbishing a room for my daughter to move in. And the room that she was in will be my new office, but there's a lot of work to do on a house that's over 100 years old. And I've been finishing up with cutting and fitting the drywall today, and trying to work on some wiring and the heating, and biggest challenge will be lighting. So I'll have a new office next month. Whether you will be able to see me or not, it depends on how my wiring goes.
Well, I hate it because I've spent most of my life working in low voltage direct current, such as electronics, computers, and in the world of computers and in telephone systems, black is ground. It's harmless, right? But when you go to AC, the rules reverse themselves. I'd love to talk to the committee that came up with that notion, because in the AC world, the black wire is the hot wire and the white wire is neutral, and that creates problems for me to, have to, but I wired the Eagle's Nest studio. I wired myself. I have a guy that's retired electrician. He's no longer licensed, but he can come look over your shoulder while you do it yourself. So when we put in the breaker box, he looked over my shoulder, and you know what MC is? Metallic.
No current.
No, MC is metallic conduit. It's that looks like a gooseneck for a microphone, bendy, but anyway. Ben, as I understand it, you are not preaching tonight, and you're really not here to pump up books, but let's go ahead and talk about your book, because Created Critters with Fur has been out for a while. Are you satisfied now and on to the next project?
Actually, I finished a product since that book came out last month. I was tickled to death with the launch on it. Surprised that it hit number one in the genre. And Coach, I know you don't write books. You probably don't look at the analytics of Amazon, but
No, I don't.
Authors do when we look at the numbers there, and they have so many genres. You think you write a children's picture book, well, they've got like 20 different genres that fits in.
Mm-hmm.
And so they pick out, I don't know how they pick it out, but the Lord blessed that the first launch day it hit number one. And it's only for, I liken that to, if you're familiar with NASCAR, it's like leading a lap once during a 500-mile race. But then 2 days later, it hit number one in that same genre. And so all that means is somebody is buying it.
Hmm.
And so some numbers are changing. So I'm pleased with it. But yeah, I'm off to. I actually Sunday morning turned in 10 devotions to a brand new publication with Guidepost. It won't come out until next year about this time, right prior to the holidays. And there's at least one other PJ knitter that's joined that group as well. And uh, that would be Julie Lavender. And
Hmm.
so she's writing as well for that. And it's called Inspiration from the Garden. And so I had 10 devotions to write for that, finished them Sunday morning and fired them off. Still writing some for Vine Words.
Hmm.
I sent one to Diane. And so I'm keeping busy with this. My next book in the Created Critter series will be something I'll be working on in the winter months. And I've got to write a curriculum for a B class, a brand new B class that I'll be teaching in the spring. So, yeah, I've got
Yeah.
plenty to do.
You
Somehow,
have you have no idea. I've actually written or read your the new Vine Words Love Knots coming out.
oh, okay.
And I've read your contribution to that.
Yeah, those were this past year's contributions, and I just wrote um, uh, some of the ones that Diane has us uh, jotted down for plenty more to do. So I think she wants each person to do 12 devotions in Vineward. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Love Knots 2 coming out and
Hmm.
be in prayer. I think be in prayer for Diane because
She
her
lost her
father,
husband.
father,
Yeah.
father-in-law.
I think father. Yeah, but either way, it's tragic. But I think it was her father, which I don't know how old he was or what the circumstances. But at the same time, she had some good news happening. So it's kind of cast a shadow on the happiness.
On the holidays too.
Yeah.
And I appreciate so much last week you getting the chance to have Bob and Jeannie on.
Hmm.
I've been working on Bob for probably 6 months to try to get him to come on. Um, and he somebody I know personally. I actually walked on the farm before he bought it, before he got it, and uh, but Bob and Jeannie are just super people. But they were gifted that property and use it to help people that have lost a child and help them as a getaway. And
Hmm.
it's about 3 hours away from Baltimore, so it's a nice cushion distance from the rat race that
Yeah.
we know that it could
Literally.
be. But it's completely quiet. I mean, just completely quiet out there. The last time I think I was out there with Bob and Jeannie on the farm itself, they have another house out by there. But I think I saw a bunch, they had a den of foxes that were
Mm.
running around and playing while we were looking at a project on the property. So I'm glad that I think there was good response from Bob and Jeannie being on last week.
Well, there was there. In fact, I thought something was wrong because when I started, you look at the analytics on Amazon. Well, guess what we look at? We look at the view count on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And Barbara, for the longest time, kept a spreadsheet on that. We don't keep up with it as much as we used to because I think that it got to be, what is the goal? What is your goal? To get more views? Well, that's not a bad idea, but
Right.
that's not how you measure success. We have had situations where there were thousands of views and then but no comments. Nobody came to the chat room. You're looking. It's great to see a good play, but it's touchdowns that count and it put points on the board. But Ben, you picked a good one there, and folks, Ben is kind of on the recruiting team. Ben, you don't know this, or maybe you do. Maybe I've shared it with you, but there was a day not that long ago when we couldn't get people on the program. We had 2 programs a week, Dell and Michelle, and we just couldn't get people to come on. But Bob was a real blessing to us. But folks, Ben's a real team player, and we've got a good team. And there's so many things that maybe people don't know about. You know, recruit if you know somebody that's got a story to tell as a Christian. Well, we'd like to hear it. But Ben, there's so many things that when you get involved with something that you can do to be part of a team.
Yeah. I will be doing broadcasts pretty soon every week because our pastor is moving to another position in another church, and we are a solidarity type church. We are our own entity. There's no superstructure, and as we search for a pastor, there's some slots that need to be filled in, and online Wednesday night Bible study has now kind of fallen into my lap. So even before the end of the year, I think Wednesday before Christmas, the 22nd, will be my first time doing that for our church. And you know, somebody told me today, I was on the phone, he says, for a retired person, you're the busiest person I know. And I said, well, I just retired from one thing. I retired from that government job and thankful that I'm not in government anymore. But that just opens the door, whether it's sharing one-on-one with somebody about Christ, or beekeeping, or writing, or it's filling in where there's a need. That's what God's allowed me to. He didn't call me to be retired and sit on a chair and rock my life away. So I've been busy, and you know, I appreciate. I kind of teased you, I think, with a message this morning. Tonight, I just wanted to share my favorite Christmas chapter in the Bible. I call it the Linus passage because Luke chapter 2 is what Linus in the Charles Schulz Christmas program, that's what Linus quotes part of Luke chapter 2. But some thoughts as I know Sherry Lynn is working with a group. I'm following after her that if you read one chapter of Luke starting December 1, you go up to Christmas and you're done with that book, and you get the birth and the death and the ministry of Christ all the way through Luke. So it's a nice book. But Luke chapter 2 holds its own nuggets of information, and I kind of jotted these down as I was reading the other day. Luke chapter 2, if anybody wants to take notes, 13 and 14, it says that the angels sang about the Christ child. And you know what? When we go to church, it seems like as soon as Thanksgiving happens, all of a sudden Christmas hymns start coming up, and we sing Christmas hymns. They sang glory to the God on high when Christ was born, and we're still singing and hearing Christmas cantatas. Some of them I know Barbara's working on, I think, a cantata with her church and works with the music there. But we're still singing about the birth of Christ today, all those years later. The second thing I took notice, Luke, a doctor, an educated man, wrote most of the New Testament. He only wrote 2 books, but if you count the words, we were talking about analytics and counting, he wrote more actual individual words because Luke is long and Acts is very long, but Luke wrote most of the words. Paul wrote most of the letters, but Luke wrote most of them, and he wrote about the birth and the death of Christ in his gospel, Luke. And you know what? We're, as authors, we're writing about the birth at Christmas time. I was just thinking, Lori Hayes just had a Christmas book come out, and Andy Clapp had his book, Christmas book, came out. I encourage you to read either one of those. Those are part of our PJNet family. I haven't had a chance to read Michelle's Dash Hound Through the Snow, even though she put some pretty interesting pictures up today of her little dash hound, and as if she put glasses on her dog and made the dog look like it's reading its book that's about her. But That's funny, but authors are still writing about the birth of Christ over 2,000 years later. The other thing I come across is in chapter 2, 15 and 16, shepherds searched for him and they found him. People today are still searching for Jesus and they're still finding him. I think it's a little bit rarer. We don't have the great awakening times. We don't have people as bold as what they should be sharing the gospel, but people still are finding him. They're not looking in the manger as the shepherds did, but they're looking and searching. And we need to be ready in the things that we say, the things that we write about, the things that we broadcast and bring in into our own lives. We need to be pointing others to Christ. And then finally, one of the interesting things towards the end of Luke chapter 2 is that real glimpse of about the only thing we know about Jesus as a child. He was 12 years old. He got lost or separated from mom and dad, and they went a day and a half heading back home. And I thought you had him. No, I thought you had him. Where's Jesus? They went back and found him, confounding those teachers and leaders and rabbis in the synagogue, and pastors and leaders that are willing to go deep into the Word of God are still amazed and fascinated by the words of Jesus, the life of Jesus, and all that. So, the central message of what Christmas is the same central message what the gospel is, and that's what we're supposed to do. Praise God and praise Him through sharing the gospel. If I had a good tip, I'm going to share that with somebody because it might help them out as well, rather than hoarding up and keeping it to myself. We need to be looking at Christmas as a great opportunity. There's so many people I know, even in my own family. We just lost, my brother lost a stepdaughter to COVID, and Friday after Thanksgiving, we were at a memorial service. So there's a lot of people that have lost people, and a good friend of mine is a funeral director, and he said it's amazing to see how many more deaths happen between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that becomes a perpetual depression time for people that lose loved ones during the holidays. So we need to be basically prayed up and scriptured up and ready to share with people that might need a little bit of an extra boost, a little bit of an extra hug, or just share Christmas love with them. So I was going to put an ugly Christmas sweater on, and I don't have one, Coach. Plain blue is about all I can get. So,
yeah, all your sweaters are ugly, Ben, so it's okay.
They don't have anything on them to be ugly like some of them do. But I just wanted to share that simple message from Luke chapter 2 to my PJNet family, to those that might be listening. And we're getting ready to, in our minds, to turn the clock over. 2022 seems almost unreal, but parts of me is ready to let 2020 and 2021 go and let it go and let God start us over. We don't have to wait till New Year's Day. We can start right now today. So,
yes,
any comments or thoughts?
Can hear you fine here. So, I did not know, your mortician friend says that there seems to be an uptick in funerals over the holiday season. Now, I didn't know that. I don't know the reason for that, but it made me think of something. Is Christmas is not a happy time for everyone. During the Christmas, we celebrate, obviously, the birth of Christ, or at least that's supposed to be the idea, but we, even those who are not believers, celebrate Christmas as a happy time of exchanging gifts and holiday cheer and parties and get-togethers, and a lot of the festivities that surround the season are happy times. But I'm always mindful of those who Christmas is not. Not everybody had a good family. not everybody had a good father. Not everybody had a good mother. In many times, people who have lost loved ones, whether through death or even divorce, a feeling of loneliness, a feeling of it's tough. It can be very depressing. And the other thing is that there is this pressure to buy gifts. And I know, when you walk through the mall and you see all these happy people walking around buying things and you're looking at things, all it is a reminder of what you can't afford. And you begin to compare yourself, which is a bad idea, but you can't help but compare yourself to other people buying things. They've got bags and handfuls of stuff, and when you can't, Christmas is not a happy time for everybody. So folks, I would encourage you to put your radar up, and be sensitive, be aware, and be ready to minister to those that are not connected and that are having to endure Christmas rather than celebrate it. So thank you for that. And ask your mortician friend why. Why the uptick in
I don't know. We had just a quick story before we had we moved here 32 years ago, 32 and a half years ago, wife and I, when we got married. And the neighbor lady, people said, you better watch out for her because she's kind of set in her ways, and you being a neighbor, she'd sue you just as soon as looking at you. And she would go off on a regular basis, and I'd sneak over and mow her grass. And she said, I know it's you mowing my grass. She never said don't, but she seemed mad. And it took a few years, but nobody would come visit her on Christmas Day. And we invited her over to our house. And it became a habit until she passed away, because even people close by wasn't even stopping by and visiting her. So I agree. Those are the people that we need to invest. The best present you can give anybody is time. If you show them love by gifts, they might forget it or re-gift it or whatever. But if you invest with them with time, that can last so much longer and cheer up somebody that could be depressed. So, I say the best way to show love is, our love is spelled sometimes Time, time.
Mm.
So, encourage people to do that as well.
Well, Ben, I appreciate your testimony. I appreciate your ministering to those. And if you were mowing her grass, maybe you could step in a hole, twist your ankle, and sue her for get paid. But no, that's what we need to do, folks. And so keep that radar up. Ben, you're always very gracious to come share with us, every month. And you're just a dedicated team member. Folks, I've told you before, but before we go on the air, Ben always prays that everything will just be okay, and pray that whatever we do or say or think here, that it will reach somebody and touch them with the love. So we would like to offer our time to you. We offer up this program not as a means of self-aggrandizement, but as a means of sharing the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And Ben, I would go to battle anywhere with you as my partner and comrade in arms in the spiritual battle that we find ourselves in at all times. So Ben, thank you for your dedication. Thank you for being there in the chat room. Thank you for recruiting new stories that get told on this screen. And just keep doing that great job, Ben. We love you and we really appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
You're the man. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, folks, that was Ben Cooper. And folks, it's not over, because in just a few minutes, Dale Didway will join us on this very screen. And he is in our green room now. And I've got just a little tidy up to do around here before he comes on at the bottom of the hour. So before I leave, I give you a homework assignment. It's only 2 questions. It's not multiple choice. First question: what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second question is, when was that? Merry Christmas, everybody. but never be satisfied with either answer.